I can't wait to ask you guys about this one. I almost wanted to put this one at the top, but it's really not germane to what's most interesting about our show. But this is fucking weird. I think this is by far the weirdest story of the week.
I love it.
Actor Tom Holland gave an interview to men's magazine GQ in which he basically confirmed for everyone, completely unprompted, that his performance as Nathan Drake in the upcoming Uncharted film is unlikely up to snuff. The magazine notes the character Drake's emphasis. The magazine notes that the character Drake's emphasis on, quote, looking cool was an experiment in vanity that left an odd taste in the actor's mouth, end quote. He told the magazine in part, quote, as soon as you start worrying about, do I look good in this shot? Acting becomes something other than playing a character. I think there are elements of my performance in Uncharted where I kind of fell under that spell of being, I want to look good now. I wanted this to be my cool moment. I had to play this very tough, very stoic guy, basically be Mark Wahlberg. My character is supposed to be a fucking action hero in this moment. Look, I haven't seen it, so I don't know if I succeeded in that, but it was an important lesson learned because at times it was less about landing a mark and go through the scene and more about landing a mark, stand like this and see my bulging biceps. It was a mistake and is something that I will probably never do again. End quote. Tom Holland is perhaps best known in his role as Spider-Man dating back to 2016's Captain America Civil War, and his Uncharted film, directed by Ruben Fleischer, is due out in February of 2022. In perhaps smaller news, we also have word on the Netflix adaptation of The Division, as Ubisoft's Tom Clancy brand continues to expand into the streaming world. The film will star Jake Gyllenhaal and Jessica Chastain and will be directed by Ross and Marshall Thurber. Gyllenhaal is best known as a well-known actor, who became famous on the back of 2001's Donnie Darko, with notable turns in 2005's Brokeback Mountain, 2007's Zodiac, 2014's Nightcrawler, and many others. Chastain's most famous film roles are likely in 2014's Interstellar and 2015's The Martian, while Thurber is the writer and director of the 2004 comedy Dodgeball, as well as the writer and director of the 2018 action film Skyscraper, starring The Rock. All right, so what? All right, so there are a few things about this. First of all, Tom Holland is sandbagging the movie, so that's obvious. So expectation should be in the gutter for the Uncharted movie, as far as I'm concerned. Here's the thing that I think is weird. He's describing the character as if he has no idea who Nathan Drake even is. You look at Nathan Drake for his cool moments when you're looking at his glistening biceps. What the fuck are you talking about? Nathan Drake is an action hero with a mouth. He's smart. He's intelligent. He has his little notebook. He's the exact opposite of what he's describing. You know, Nathan Drake looks cool because he's not trying to look cool. Nathan Drake is cool because he is not trying to be cool. And Jake Gyllenhaal Tom Holland is describing a character who is completely foreign to me as a huge Uncharted fan. Chris, what do you think?
I think it's interesting because I think they're obviously making a movie, and this is obviously like an action hero role. So he might be playing a character that, you know, it's not that he looks cool because he's trying to look cool, but at the same time, if you're playing the character, you kind of have to look like you're looking cool without trying to look cool. So I kind of like understand what he's talking about, but it's hilarious to me. Tom Holland is like notorious for having like a really, really open, he's like notorious for spoiling things. They never give him like the real scripts for things. They never give him like the real names of the movies that he's in because he always leaks them. He always just talks like really, really candidly about things. I'm actually like astonished that he has a career still. Not as like an insult. I just like, you know, like I like Tom Holland. I think he's pretty good in most of the things he's done. It's just staggering like how not tight-lipped he is. And just how blatant this kind of keep your expectations in check, guys, kind of thing is, you know? It's like a very wild thing to see in the
Here's the thing that really bothers me, Dustin. He says, I had to play this very tough, very stoic guy, basically be Mark Wahlberg. Then why the fuck didn't you cast Mark Wahlberg, who plays Sully, as Nathan Drake? It doesn't even make any sense. Like, have you ever played Uncharted? It almost makes me wonder, like, I'm sorry. Like, I understand what you're saying, Chris, but like,
no, I agree
he
with
is
you.
not describing
totally
Nathan Drake. You know,
yeah.
Dustin, what do you think of this?
But
by the way, it's a small
be...
wonder. Real quick, by the way, I'm sorry before I forget. Neil Druckmann had shit talked this movie.
Yeah.
And you can kind of tell now why. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I mean, it should be noted that like he's an actor, so he's going by whatever the hell the director's telling him, you know? Like the director is ultimately in charge of like the performance and like leading people into playing characters in an accurate, true to form way. So like even if this is bad, like which it likely probably will be because it's a fucking video game movie and none of these are good. But I still would say like I don't really think it would be Tom Holland's fault. I think it would be whoever put the idea in his head that he should be acting like a stoic action hero and like, you know what I mean? Like that's the director telling him, like clearly giving him notes that would push him in this direction, right? So it's like why would you direct your actor that way?
Yeah, that's
right.
a fair. You're right. The buck has to stop with someone. I think you're probably right. It's just like
it just bothers me whenever I see like really really good actors like kind of like given the brunt of it's like Jared Leto's fucking stupid Joker, you know, with like damage. Like he didn't decide to write damaged on his forehead, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Like,
he didn't go into the makeup booth or the makeup trailer and do that.
There's only so much an actor can do with the material that they're given. And, you know, I would say, you know, I'm curious about this movie, but I've always long maintained that if you're gonna do a video game adaptation, a TV show is the best way to do it. And that's why I'm like far more interested in Castlevania and all these other like kind of like TV offshoots.
Yeah, even The Last of Us will probably be more promising. Yeah.
Yeah, even The Last of Us. Like everything on TV just seems like it would just be a better fit for video games. So this Uncharted movie to me is already garbage, but it was before this. So whatever.
Dustin, what do you make about the way he describes the character? I'm really hung up on this. Like I'm really hung up on being like I have to play a Nathan Drake is stoic. What?
Yeah, what?
Nathan Drake is the antithesis of stoic. He's like a clown. I just don't understand what the hell. I don't know. I'm really maybe so bothered by this that I almost put it as number one on the news because I wanted to talk about it so bad.
It is astounding.
So let me put a different spin on this.
Please.
Which I think you guys are right, but let's just think out loud for a minute. I don't know Tom Holland, but when I see the way that he is setting the table, so to say, he's setting expectations, reads like something that I would do as someone who often has low self-confidence, that you set the expectations low just because you have low self-confidence in yourself. So who knows? Maybe it was a different role for him, maybe. And maybe he just doesn't feel confidence in himself, and so he feels the need to set expectations low. Maybe we'll be surprised, but probably not.
No,
I think you guys are probably right.
It's weird because Spider-Man is closer to Nathan Drake than whatever the hell character like he's describing when he says stoic. You know what I mean? Like Spider-Man's like a witty kind of like talk-backy kind of jerk. You know, who's also really smart. You know, so it's almost like it's almost like really good casting if you look at it that way, you know, where it's like, oh yeah, get the Spider-Man guy to play Nathan Drake. That actually seems perfect. He's just not swinging. And even in the movie, like actually like Nathan Drake swings a lot.
Yeah.
Like
when you think about it, he swings a lot. I mean, it's almost like he hit his head and forgot what character he was talking about. You know, so I don't know. I thought,
I think it's more likely that they just wrote a bad movie and you know they wrote a terribly like realized version of this character that just doesn't match up with what the games portray, and Tom Holland's just like, I gotta do the character that's on the script, so I guess like he's stoic. Like stoic is not a word that I would use to describe Nathan Drake at all.
No.
Stoic is like Master Chief is stoic. Like
or even Joel is stoic. Like
Joel is stoic. You know, like
it's very weird. It was almost as if he was describing a different movie, and they're like, dude,
The Mandalorian is stoic.
Right, exactly. It's almost as if to me, it's like, did you read the wrong script? You played the wrong character, Tom. I wanted to read this though. This is somewhat unrelated, but we got this from the audience. I'm really interested to see what you guys think of this. Amin wrote into us. Says, hey guys, this is a movie game question. On Jaffe's podcast, David Jaffe's, a couple weeks ago, he interviewed the ex-head of the secret San Diego team they formed. He said that the team was originally planned to make video game movies based on their first-party IPs. What's interesting, though, is that the team would make these full-length movies in the engine of the game that it was based on. So a God of War movie would be made with the God of War engine they used to make the game, an Uncharted movie with the engine, etc. What do you think about making game movies being done in engine with the same character models, etc.? While I usually wouldn't want video game movies to be made, I couldn't help but think this would have been a great idea. Wouldn't it alleviate most of the criticisms most movies have? Fans wouldn't have to worry about the actors being too different, or the world would be captured the right way. It would also tie into the games in a more seamless way, I think. What do you guys think? This was interesting. What he's basically saying is that they would basically have animated films built on Decima, built on whatever engines they're using for the various games internally. It's an interesting idea, but I don't think that's what PlayStation fans want. What do you think, Chris?
I don't know, like, because it reminds me of like Advent Children, you know, where like Advent Children wasn't built on the engine, obviously, because like that was way back before CG and gameplay was all that similar. But like I think now, like modern engines, you know, like Kingdom Hearts looks like shit, but it also looks better than, you know, Toy Story 2. You know, it looks better than a lot of CG movies, like even in gameplay. So like I don't know. I think this could be like a cool idea. I still think in general, like the goal of trying to get a movie out of these series is just like misguided. I think if you're going to want to tell a story, if you're going to want to tell a story about these universes, they need to be serialized. They need to be TV shows. There's just no way you're going to condense the plot of even the most simple game in an hour and a half, you know, to 2 hours. Like even something like Portal, I think you would need, and Portal has like 2 characters, you know, and I feel like even Portal would need like more than like an hour to get all of the like intricacies of like the Rat Man and Aperture Science and all this other shit that goes on. I just think that the goal of a movie is just misguided. But I do think the application of in-engine kind of, you know, highly detailed and rendered cutscenes that use kind of all the engine's processing power on just rendering like individual, like, you know, pre-rendered animations and not having to worry about rendering things in real time. And like, I think that would be really an interesting show. Not only would it be an interesting showcase for the engines themselves as like a way to attract kind of talent and a way to show off what your tech is, but I do think that is not necessarily a bad idea of like maybe doing like a mini series in engine. Cause that's what I've wanted for a long time for like a lot of the series that I like. I would love a Metal Gear Solid show that was just honestly like, even if it was just in the Metal Gear Solid 3 engine, like I think that would be fun as hell.
It's almost like machinima in a way, right? Like
it is
the small M machinima, like the red versus blue stuff back in the day and all of that, right?
Yeah, obviously with more production.
Yeah,
and
I mean better, but it's the same idea. You know?
Yeah. But I think the reason why machinima was so like red versus blue was so successful is because it kind of played off of your understanding of the aesthetics of that world, and it kind of made everything like a little bit more, not believable, but more natural than it would have been if it was just like somebody animating it from scratch, or if it was somebody just like putting on those costumes and just acting it out. There's a charm and there's a familiarity to engines and their assets and their aesthetics and their art styles that I think would honestly be a really good idea. I just don't think a movie is the right call.
I agree. Dustin, what did you think about this idea of San Diego having a spin-off studio that would promote in-engine animation?
I think it would be most effectively used if you were using it to tell stories maybe within the game timeline or world that wouldn't lend well to gameplay, right? Like maybe they do a God of War I guess it wouldn't be prequel. I don't the time between God of War 3 and God of War 2018. Maybe they could tell a miniseries using the in-game engine about what was Kratos' life between then and then.
Yeah.
You know, something that wouldn't necessarily, I mean, they might be able to make a game out of that, but something that wouldn't necessarily make sense for a game, but would make sense for a movie or some sort of passive storytelling, we'll
like
say.
Lore kind of, or like stuff that you would like maybe read on like collectibles in The Last of Us, or something that would be like something that usually would be relegated to like maybe like a prequel novel or something, or like a book tie-in. I think that would be a good idea. Yeah, it would help flesh out the universe. It would help ground it in the universe because it's using the same assets and it's using the same kind of general feel of the game that it's based on. I don't think this idea is entirely without merit. I think it's actually kind of good.